So here are my biggest takeaways from today's FOMC meeting. What's going on, guys? It's Ricky here with TechBot Solutions, and we live streamed the FOMC meeting on my YouTube channel. If you guys missed it, feel free to go check it out. I actually caught a couple of my trades that led to my actual $5,600 gain on TQQQ. All of the trades that I took were caught within that live session. It was a really fun time. I ended up selling early based off of how the market actually ended up performing, but I wanted to share with you my biggest takeaway with what Jerome Powell said. So first things first, what did they do? For those that are unaware, they paused rate hikes, meaning that there was at the point when we live streamed, there was like a 98% probability that the Federal Reserve was going to pause. And that's exactly what they did. Our previous was 5.25%. Our actual and current is 5.25%. So what that means is if they were to have raised interest rates, it would have gone, if they would have raised it a quarter of a basis points, it would have gone from 5.25 to 5.5, right? Very simple to understand. When they begin to cut interest rates, if they get to that, then they said, or then 5.25 will actually begin to go down, right? But until they begin to cut, it's going to most likely maintain at 5.25 unless they increase or decrease interest rates. Now, let's talk about there's really just two main takeaways that I had from this FOMC meeting. The first one that I wanted to share with you is the big question that a lot of people had was, is the Federal Reserve going to actually begin to cut rates as soon as the next meeting? Like why pause now if we're not going to cut later? What Jerome Powell said is that the decision of pausing interest rates or pausing hikes is based off of current economic data. And it does not mean that in up and coming FOMC meetings that they will have to continue to pause or cut rates. Kind of going into my second question of like, okay, well, does this mean that there could be any future rate hikes? And Jerome Powell said, yes, there are many actual members in the Federal Reserve that stated that they can expect future rate hikes in 2023 if economic data supports it. So if we begin to see that inflation is not going down as much as expected, everyone was thinking that, okay, well, we're going to experience rate cuts pretty soon. The Federal Reserve is like, no, right? We're taking it month by month. And this is one of the things that I really appreciate about what Jerome Powell said is he kind of explained himself a little bit more of not just saying, yeah, there might be future rate hikes later down the road, but he said, the decision that we made today for today's FOMC meeting was pretty much singular, meaning that it was based off of current economic data and does not mean that we will have to continue to pause in future FOMC meetings or actually have to cut rates, that they could raise interest rates by the end of the year another half a basis point. So that means from the current 5.25 to potentially 5.75. So I think that really skews the market's expectation of the Federal Reserve cutting rates anytime soon. Now, the thing that I wanted to follow up is like, okay, well, where does the market go from here, right? When looking at the market on the 4-hour time frame, we're at 52-week highs. We're literally at one of the highest price points that we've been since 2022. Like this is great. The market has made a full recovery of pretty much everything that it lost in 2022, right? So starting of 2022 was right around this general time. I mean, we're nearly back at a full recovery from what we lost during a very, very bear market. Now the market, and this is just my opinion, is screaming overbought. We're at 76 RSI. The market hasn't really even pulled back to the EMA or the moving average ever since its initial rally back in March. So now it kind of brings me back to the question of like, okay, well, is the market just going to skyrocket from here if the Federal Reserve is going to pause? Or this is what I think is going to happen. I think that we're going to see the market somewhat kind of struggle, or not struggle, but I think we'll begin to see headlines in the up and coming weeks. And this is not just in the next couple of days, but in the up and coming weeks, where if markets begin to slow down, if they begin to slow down, it will be because of the uncertainty of future rate hikes. When Jerome Powell stated what he said is that this does not mean that we cannot hike rates later down the road. When I know that the market's expectation was to pause and or cut rates by the end of 2023. That's all everyone was talking about. But because of what he said, I mean, looking at the, which again, this thing changes all the time, the Fed Rate Monitor tool, they are talking about, what's the probability for a future rate hike or a pause. It's saying that as of right now that there is a 64% probability that we could go from 5.25 to 5.5, which would mean an increase, right? Or a 35% probability of staying from 5.5 to 5.25. Obviously, this is, far from where it is that we are right now. This is still 5 weeks away, nearly 6 weeks away. But I find it very interesting with how overbought we are. We passed the CPI data report. Inflation is good, right? Inflation is coming down as expected. Core inflation, not really, but overall inflation, like things are looking good. But how do things get better from here, right? I'm just really intrigued to see how the market performs in the next couple of weeks and what headlines we see, because we heard them today, and it's very, very clear to understand that when asking the question, will the Federal Reserve raise rates in the future? Very much so, right? Like, it's not out of the question. A lot of members said, like, expect more rate hikes down the road if economic data supports it. So I think that is where we will begin to see the surprises of kind of these pullbacks in the market. But again, we are far, far from that. The market's extremely bullish. Market sentiment is extremely bullish, and it looks like nothing can negatively impact the market. It's making higher highs and higher lows, which is why, again, during today's FOMC meeting, we kept it simple. When the market sold off, watch today's live stream. Literally watch the video that I uploaded before this. It's FOMC Live, and I live streamed that when the market sold off originally during the rate pause. We've seen this time and time again where the market reacts one way for the initial reporting, but then when Jerome Powell speaks 30 minutes after, the market reacts a completely different way. And I bought in very lightly into the dip, and then I started to dollar cost average into it on the way up a little bit more aggressively, and then I locked in profit all at once, walking away with $5,600 on the day. So very grateful for how today played out. Again, it was just one of many live streams that we host for free on this YouTube channel. So again, if you guys haven't done so already, I would love to have you as a part of the team. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you drop a thumbs up. And if you have any questions, feel free to shoot me a direct message via Discord or via Instagram, as I'm always just one direct message away. The last thing that I want to invite you to is, again, I do trade live exclusively to our LPP team. So if you want to watch me trade live as soon as tomorrow, that's going to be the second link in the description down below. You get access to our A to Z video lesson library, our daily live trading sessions, our private group chat, and access to the TechBuds HQ. It's a one-time payment, lifetime access. And yes, you do get to watch me trade live every single day, and as soon as tomorrow at market open. Appreciate your time. Like always, let's make sure that we end the year on a green note. Take it easy, team.